Yeah. We hit record.
Yeah.
Huzzah. So in the next 3 to 5 years, with the pace of change that artificial intelligence is moving at, we are actually going to see that becoming how people are interacting to buy products and services, to get things done, to do tasks in digital channels and online. So this is a thing that I think not many organizations are ready for. And if you can go into your first job talking about how you've got a plan for machines as customers for that organization, that will set you apart from pretty much everybody else who is competing for the same job. Okay. So what am I talking about here? This is a new kind of mass market. It is so important, and more important probably than most changes that have happened in the last 20 years. And within a decade, the billions of connected products that we have will be smart enough to actually be customers themselves. The Internet of Things, intelligent software assistants, your ChatGPT, your, whatever it is, whatever your choice is of AI agent assistants, that will actually become a proxy for a customer. And when I'm talking about a machine customer, I'm talking about a non-human economic actor that obtains goods or services in exchange for payment. So let me give you a for example. We'll do a for example. For example, an autonomous car. Let's, in this, for sake of argument, a Tesla. This autonomous car knows when it's got a flat tire, will select and find the nearest repair shop. It could book its own service. It will send the store all of the relevant details about itself. It can also choose, if you're in the car and you're not going to get home in time for dinner or whatever, it can actually call ahead to your favourite restaurant, order something for you to pick up and take with you. And also message your family and tell you you're going to be late. This is the kind of promise of the machine customer. Now, a Tesla is not a general AI. Let's, baseline some language. You probably know this, but I'm just going to baseline language anyway for what I'm talking about. We have narrow AI, which is what an autonomous car is, or a something that can book something online for you. So it does one task super well. A chess, the chess AIs. They do one thing super well. That's a narrow AI. Then we have what we're kind of progressing towards, which is the general AI, which you know about. This is the one that has the context from its environment, and it can actually use that to make determinations and decisions and interact with things. That's sort of where we're getting into like the C3PO territory. Now, we're not quite there yet, but we're on our way. And then the third horizon of AI is the superhuman AI, which is so smart and so amazing that comparing that AI to a human is like comparing a human intelligence to an ant. What I'm talking about here is a lot of the narrow AI stuff, as we move into the later horizons, getting into the general AI stuff. So what's actually happened here as well with Tesla, if the car is able to book its own service, choose where it's going to buy its tires, make selections for you about a restaurant on the way home where you might like to buy some food to serve to your family, that car is actually now a customer. And this is the first time in history where companies that sell things to you are actually manufacturing their own customers to do buying and procuring and transacting. Not a lot of organizations are on the front foot with this. The machine customer is already dawned. So there are more machines with the potential to act as buyers than there are humans on the planet. There are over 7 billion phones. There are over 7 billion phones, tablets, PCs, smartwatches, smart speakers, personal devices, and commercial printers. So the printers that you have here at university are more than likely capable of ordering their own toner, their own paper, and getting consumables that they need, booking services. So your printers here are more than likely customers. of those has a steadily improving ability to analyze information and make decisions. So the prediction on this, 2030, executives believe at least 25% of all consumer purchases and business replenishment requests, like your paper, your toner, all those things, toilet paper for the company, they will be delegated to a machine. If you're interested in some of this, there are already AI procurement platforms. So platforms whose job it is to go out on behalf of companies and order stuff for them autonomously. This is a pretty big market shift. In fact, if you measure this market shift, this is a market shift that is roughly twice as large and twice as fast as the historical arrival of e-commerce. That is a big market shift. And the other thing, we know that humans are not particularly rational. So if a human is going to want the best buying judgment to be made, well then, and without the subconscious biases, well then a machine's likely to perform better. So I want you to imagine this. So I'll talk retail banking. So when retail banking wants to get you as a customer, and we want you to choose us as the place where you go for your credit card, for your bank account, we might create a very slick website with a whole lot of, hero imagery that's very emotional and aspirational and makes you look at it as a human and go, oh, I resonate with that brand and I want to be just like those people that I see in that picture. Therefore, I'm going to get that credit card because clearly that's the life that it's selling me. Now, that's as a human with your emotions and your biases that you're making a buying decision there. If you, as an AI-enabled human, decide to send your agent out to go and find the best credit card for you, you would give it a bunch of parameters, things that are important to you. Non-interest fee, non-interest charging time frame between purchases. Is it a sustainable brand? Do they have any particular rewards with particular organizations that you're interested in or you like? So that's a totally different proposition for an organization to try and get a machine to choose them over you choosing them with all of your emotions and biases. So as somebody who's designing that, programming that, figuring out the business case for that, you have to approach it completely differently. You cannot just go in there and go, I'm going to build a website. It will not work. And so machine customers are actually representing the biggest new growth opportunity for us because they don't make decisions the way that humans do. And more increasingly, smart devices are connected to the internet and people are using more of those intelligent virtual agents and virtual assistants. The commercial possibilities here are absolutely staggering. This is trillions of dollars that is going to slide into the hands, or should we say the processes of non-human customers. They're going to be making trillions of dollars of buying decisions. There's 3 predicted phases of this. We call the phase 1 is bound. It's called where a machine purchases specific items defined by rules. Phase 2 is called adaptable, where the machines make optimized selections amongst competing products based on the rules. And phase 3 is autonomous, where the machine customer infers the human customer needs based on rules, and the context and their preferences. And so today we're already in bound phase. We're in phase 1 bound, which we've got HP's Instant Ink, we've got Amazon Dash replenishment, we've got Tesla cars, exactly as I talked about before. They can perform limited functions as what is called a co-customer on the owner's behalf. And so the people set the rules, the machine executes them within a very prescribed ecosystem, and the machines are therefore bound customers. They represent the first in that 3-phase evolution. In the second and more emerging phase, and the time frame for this phase is about 2026, so we've got about 2 years to get the runway up on this. People are still setting the rules for machines as adaptable customers, through AI technology, they can choose and act on behalf of the human with minimal intervention on the selected tasks. Examples of this include robo-trading, things like autonomous vehicles, again, also Tesla and those fit in here as well. So financial robo-advisors are basically a digital platform that pull in a whole bunch of information in order for them to make investment decisions on your behalf. Now that's a adaptable customer because it's actually doing a little bit of thinking on its own, but it's operating within a set of rules as well. And the final phase of this, which is looking at around 2036, so 12-ish years out, 11-ish years out. These are the new economic actors that are the autonomous customers. And they have enough intelligence to act independently on behalf of humans with a high degree of discretion, and they own most of the process steps that are associated with the transaction. This is not a sentient machine, okay? We're not talking about something that is, sentient and self-aware. We're talking about something that doesn't necessarily need to have that kind of level of sophistication, but it does need to have its own needs met. For example, maintenance, software updates. It'll address those on its own. There's an AI-enabled automated hedge fund called IxDA, which already can operate with complete autonomy from computer intervention. And it's an example of an autonomous machine customer because it reads news, analyzes large amounts of economic data, identifies really obscure patterns. So the thing that robo-advisors and the financial services algorithms, they're looking for the black swan. They're looking for the thing that is the obscure pattern that can tell them that there is an opportunity there to make money. And it makes predictions about market trends and it makes its investments accordingly. So this is something that is so close in terms of time, and so many organizations are not thinking about how it's going to impact the way that they provide products and services. That's just on the sales level, but think about it on a technology level. How many changes do you need to make to the digital platforms that organizations have, to the systems that our world runs on, in order for them to be able to answer these new customers? And it's not going to necessarily be an optional thing either, because as you've seen the pace of change with artificial intelligence and how all of the large language models, everything is becoming so completely commoditized and very mainstream. So this is not optional for organizations to ignore it and go, no, we'll keep on selling their things. And so the other thing with machine customers, if you delegate responsibility to a machine, the order quantity that it comes up with, the frequency of its timing of when it does purchasing, it's going to change because it's going to do it with different parameters. And in some cases, a human might buy less than a human. A machine might buy less than a human. In some cases, it might buy more. This is going to have a positive or a negative impact on the market, because if you remember, I was talking about the scale of this and how many trillions of dollars is going to be passed into the determination of the machine customer. If just a subset of that buys a bit more, buys a bit less, and we're talking in the trillions of dollars, the market moves in very big ways. So this is something to think about. And if an organization, or if you working in an organization, you want to be on the front foot here, you need to make sure that there's a strategy. So what do we do for machine customers? And that organization also needs to have a business model that's going to fit into that new world. As part of the evolution, all of the sales, all the marketing, all the data, all the analytics practices are going to have to transform the way that they work. And in some instances, people are actually going to take a back seat to very sophisticated gadgets. And so organizations and you going into the workforce are going to need to understand that and be prepared for that level of overhaul in the places that you go to work. So in those sales and marketing disciplines, that's going to be very, very different. So Selling to machines is very different to selling humans and engaging humans because the rules are much more data-driven. There's very little room for emotion. So organizations need to evolve their corporate strategy to account for machine customers in that way. Evaluating whether or not a machine customer or an AI algorithm represents growth is one of the key things that business leaders need to do. They need to have a look at their market and go, okay, what kinds of machine customers are going to come to us? And how might we provide the products and the services for them? Because they could represent growth. They could also represent stagnation. And they could also represent destruction in particular markets. The machine customer might kill off whole products and services because they're not required anymore. So think about this as you go through the remainder of your degrees and look for the roles that you want to go and work in the world. Figure out what kind of bots could become buyers for the products and services that you're interested in. What are they? What do they look like? What kind of bots? Who would make those bots? Where would they come from? Think of what would grow? What would make something grow rather than shrink? Will these liaise between humans and technology? And how do you, as computer science engineers, how do you create the connections there? What is your part in creating the connection between the human, the product and service, as the machine customer as well? So what will you do? The strategic questions really is, what will you do if you are manufacturing them? So for example, Tesla is now making machine customers. Is the organization that you go and work for or the things that you get interested in, are they something that's going to be making machine customers? And if so, how are they going to make those machine customers? And what's your part going to be in creating those customers? How are you going to make sure that it's something that's additive to society rather than to detriment of? Or will you be creating a platform that serves them? So will you be creating them? Maybe. Or will you be there to create platforms that serve them? So say you're going to work for an online travel booking organization. Your platform is most likely going to have to end up serving somebody else's agentive AI that comes in with a bunch of parameters for a holiday that it's trying to put together. So how do you create and code and design something that would serve that? Or will you join a marketplace to sell to them? Will you want to come up with products and services or something that actually you target machine customers? Is that what your trajectory is going to be? And if you're going to do that, well, what are the capabilities that you will need? So this is where your maturity as computer science humans and your understanding of data, platforms, APIs particularly, that's where it's really going to come into play. Because APIs, especially in Standard Chartered, APIs is one of our really big plays. So because we are dealing with very large organizations, we're not necessarily expecting people from those organizations to come to our digital platform and manually put things in there to get their payroll done or whatever that is. We use APIs and host-to-host services in order for our services and products to show up in their systems, in their ERP. So we're there without friction. That's a little bit of us serving the machine customer. Sales is definitely going away from people to programming. This is I think it's the best correlation for people who are way older than you actually, this is kind of the early days of search engine marketing. So it's search engine optimization. So in the olden days of the internet, people just put things on the internet and you did your best you could, if you wanted to try and find it. Then came the advent of search engine optimization, where people figured out, okay, so if into the code I put a bunch of things that are keywords that describe the thing that I have, then the search engines will be able to find it better. So now this is also applying that same sort of logic to the way that you do sales. And you have to look, salespeople are going to have to actually study machine behavior and identify the patterns that come from machines that can inform their commercial tactics. Because a sales organization might have its own bots that decides to sell to the machines. So is that something that, are you going to create bots that sell to machines? Is that something that's like interesting and exciting for you to do with your computer power skills? So you're going to, if that's something that you do and go into an organization to do, you need to partner with the sales team and talk to them about how they create a machine-centric journey. So from a customer experience lens, for me, this is about how I need to have a look at how we do things in a bank and create machine-centric journeys. We've started with that in our API marketplace, in our open banking marketplace. So how do we create good developer experience? How do we make our APIs accessible and easy for them to use? How do we make sure that we have sandboxes for them to put things in and see if they're going to work with their internal products and services, their internal platforms as well? So creating machine-centric journeys versus human journeys, and then also looking at human-machine journeys. So remember the example of somebody who has an agent who is going out to do bookings for them on a platform. That's a human-machine journey. So you've got to think about, okay, so if I'm going to capture that dollar into my business, then I need to think about, okay, so my site needs to have all the variables really easily presented to be consumed by an algorithm, so that algorithm can take those variables, apply them to whatever rules that the human has given them to choose them over something else. And then from there, I need to make sure that once the human actually does come into the buying equation, that I have something there for the human as well. So there's a lot of things to look at very, very differently. And in marketing, this is again where you must focus on what the information that the machines, customers, are going to need, and then you have to make it really easy for them to discover. So if a bot wants to purchase toilet paper on behalf of the human, well, the data it needs goes beyond how much does it cost, stuff like environmental impact, hard water performance, cost per foot. So stuff that as a person in the supermarket, you pick up some toilet paper, you're not looking at this going, oh, I wonder what its hard water performance is like, or geez, I wonder what it costs me per foot, or what's the price per sheet. But when you introduce an algorithm into that, it can process those variables very, very quickly to then present the information back to the person to give them that additional decision points. So in creating platforms that sell out to machine customers, you've got to make all of that kind of information really accessible, current. And it's not something that generally, if you're going to be going, oh, how am I going to design this e-commerce platform that sells toilet paper to a human, you wouldn't necessarily be thinking about those things as information to present. So this is something that you need to look at in terms of like, what information do you need to care about now when you're designing, coding, creating these digital experiences. And people in marketing is about creating demand for the thing. Sales is about selling the thing. Marketing is about making people want that thing. So if your entire function is determined by you creating a demand in a human for a thing, that entire function has to change completely. And so they're going to have to navigate these, while they still navigate behaviors of humans, they have to consider how machines are going to fit into that customer journey. And to prepare for that as a future, so marketers also have to master machine learning and help spot patterns in machine buying behavior. So in our marketing analytics, a lot of what we do is we look at, what is the human behavior and look for patterns, but now marketing needs to spot machine buying behavior and look at what are the patterns. data and analytics has to change as well because it needs to support machine interactions. High quality intelligence powers the interactions with machine customers, and it's going to be critical to success when non-human actors drive sales, drive buying decisions, drive the choice decisions to use your product, your service, your thing over somebody else's. And advanced analytics and AI today is more about personalizing marketing offers. You know, I cannot tell you how much money is being spent in marketing right now doing hyper-personalization to human beings, which is going to be pretty much irrelevant probably in about 5 years' time, because the personalization that you're going to need to do will be to machine customers, because they're hyper-personalizing marketing offers, products, services, and contents for people, and that needs to adapt to machines. Data analytics leaders are absolutely going to have to improve capabilities to support machine-driven sales. So, battleground for customers has never been so competitive, and even the savviest of our organizations' executives get pretty perplexed when it comes to making sense of decisions taken by customers. And it is a really everyday challenge for enterprises to completely understand the whole customer life cycle and create this unified view of them. So organizations have only two real options now in terms of the advent of the machine customer. They can either lead the pack and lean into all of this, change how their operating model works, change their sales, change their marketing, change their customer experience, change the skills and abilities that they're hiring into their organizations. Look for people who are coming out of degrees like yours going, hey, I know how to create an experience for a machine customer. Or if they can't meet or even exceed those expectations, human or machine, they'll become obsolete or remain inert. They'll be on a slow slide to mediocrity and irrelevance. And customers really want personalized digital experiences. And so that does need to be at the heart of what companies do sell and is part of their business strategy. And that remains true for now and to the foreseeable future. However, if you can master just even the smallest fraction of this, this sets you apart from pretty much every peer that you have going out into industry. So I would really encourage you to do some deep diving on this and see how this fits into the things that you're interested in, the places that you might like to go to work. What are the companies that you want to work for? And if that's a company that you could get a job, what does it mean from a machine customer point of view? Are they going to be creating machines? Are they going to make platforms to serve them? Or are you going to join ecosystems somewhere else in order to sell to them? Is there something that you can sell somewhere else? So highly recommend this as a topic for further scrutiny. Thanks for hanging out with me this Friday night. I'm very happy to answer questions about any of this or other aspects of, what it's like to work in financial services. So yeah, thank you for your time. Some of you look stressed. Are you all right? Have you ever thought of this? No? This is new news? Okay. No, you're not alone. So I've spoken about this at customer experience conferences, multiple customer experience conferences, and every single audience has gone, I've never thought of it like that. And I've sent them away going, think about it. What if your customer was a machine? What would you do differently? How would things change? What skills would you need? So you're not alone. Yeah.
You mentioned that there's some similarity between marketing to machines and existing search engine activity.
Yeah.
Like the difference would be that existing companies are optimizing for like a handful of search engines, whereas now you're trying to market to a huge number of machines.
An unknowable number. Yeah, absolutely.
So my question is like, how are companies like yours planning to classify the demographics of these machine customers? Like, have you guys identified like any interesting segments that you can separate? this customer needs by?
Yeah. So for me, like I can't talk about specific projects that the bank's involved in. So we are working our strategy on this. But there's some very clear emerging clusters of these types of customers. One of them, which is one I talked about a little bit, is procurement. So the procurement customer. Organizations are desperate to get cost efficiencies in their procurement, because procurement is one of the places that eats up a whole lot of time, where people are just going around trying to find the cheapest this or the best that for the fit for the organization. So procurement is a really big place where you would see a cluster of customers here. Another set of customers is around manufacturing and also predictive maintenance as well. I don't know if you know much about predictive maintenance. So predictive maintenance is where plants are able to put sensors onto their specific machinery that check the rotation and whether something's off balance and it's going to need maintenance because of wear and tear. So those predictive maintenance systems are also another cluster of machine customer, because they can go, okay, the bearings on this have been wearing out and it's going to need maintenance. Therefore, I'm going to go and order those bearings, get them coming in, schedule the maintenance, have the maintenance team come in and do something about it. So that's another cluster of customers. There's also a cluster of customers in manufacturing, where you have, for example, say they manufacture drinks, right? Strawberry flavored drinks. And what they do is they have run out of their strawberry flavoring, but the manufacturing system has enough intelligence in it to go, okay, I'm running out of that thing, therefore I'm going to place an order for that so that it gets in here and we don't actually have a delta between the amount of strawberry we need and the amount of strawberry we've got. So manufacturing is another cluster of those customers. I think those are the more advanced ones. The ones that are coming but are not yet as advanced because AI capabilities aren't as advanced are those agent-enabled humans who send their agent out into the digital world in order to find them the exact match for the thing that they're after. And those ones are going to be much more tricky to sell to. Yeah, hope that's helpful. Yeah.
I'm actually not a student for computing. I'm actually a technology student, so can I just ask you questions?
Of course, you're here. You can ask questions. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, like when you're talking about how AI can become customers, I was wondering whether there are potential risks of like monopolies, because if the selection criteria is similar, then they might just go for some specific companies rather than that distributes. And if that happens, whether the government intervene and
yeah, this is where we get into the unintended consequences discussion. Which is one of my favorite discussions. So looking at anything like that, so anything that you're going to get involved in, any project that you might be interested, your company might be interested in, you need to do consequence scanning. You need to look at the idea that you've got and you need to go, what is the worst possible outcome that could happen for me making this decision and doing this project if it's successful? What's the worst thing that can happen? So that then you can have really good conversations about how to make sure that the bad stuff doesn't happen. And one of the worst possible consequences of this could be that one company gets a huge monopoly because they figure out how to game all of the algorithms that you've all created in order to make them all go to that one place. And before you know it, they've got $1 trillion and it's too late. So yeah, there's onus on all of you as well to be ethical actors in this. All of you, it's up to you to also say, hey, I love my idea, but I also want to check whether or not my idea is going to have unintended negative consequences. Yeah. So if you're interested in ethics and data and computing, the ODI, the Open Data Institute, is excellent and has a huge amount of resources around triaging the ethics of your AI, triaging the ethics of your technology, and it's all free. Yes?
Hi, I'd just like to add on to that. So like AI as we know it currently has like algorithmic bias, but what if we use that algorithmic bias, since it's all like from humans and all, and as society keeps changing, like global the bias change. So isn't it like, even though unethical, can't we just change our marketing towards the machines to fit those biases as well.
Well, if you want to get all dystopian
Yeah.
and game the system, totally. But I mean, this is a really good conversation because there is always somebody out there who will try and game it. There is always somebody out there who will try and break it. There will always be somebody who tries to gain advantage unethically. So it's a really good question to ask and a really good conversation to have. AI infers its biases from humans. It gets everything that it believes to be true from people and people's actions. So it all comes down to your training data. Yeah. So what's it trained on? How have you trained it? Is the human in the loop? What are your responsible AI frameworks that you've got that's applied? Is your algorithm transparent? Can you explain what it does to people? So bringing a responsible AI framework around anything that you do will help you at least avoid some of that. But it is totally possible for people to go, I spot a bias and I'm going to exploit it. There's also a bunch of white hat hackers out there who find those sorts of things and then go and tell the company I found it and collect a bounty. So yeah, these are really great questions to be asking, and take these questions into whatever future that you have planned for yourself, because that makes you also, again, part of like the 5% of people who will have this conversation. I've worked in tech for nearly 30 years now, and I'm still a small portion of the voices who is having this kind of conversation. If you're really interested in generative AI and ethics, you can follow on Instagram a lady called Laurie Segal, who is a fantastic ex-CNN journalist, and she's done a huge amount of experimentation and research and journalism writing and videos on deep fakes and the harms of generative AI. She's really, really interesting. Thoughts and questions? Can be off this topic, can be on something else. Can be on customer experience or UX design or anything. Yeah.
Do you think that if you let's say your company is selling something, right? You want to make your APIs available for bots to purchase your product. Do you think that some companies may not be willing because they feel like the bots read their product, it won't think their product is as good as the competitors, so they don't listen to the bots?
Well, this is up to how good is your machine customer sales strategy? Do you know how to make it compelling to an algorithm to choose your API or your product, your service over somebody else's? The fact that you have to show up competitively doesn't change because it's a machine customer. It's just the way you show up competitively is different. Yeah. Yeah.
Does your company foresee any sort of regulations that might be put in place by governments regarding this kind of machine customers?
Oh, it's already coming. Yeah. So the EU has got its AI Act that is either it's almost through or coming through, which we are absolutely having to abide by. And every organisation that does business in the EU, because we're a global organisation, every organisation that does business in the EU will have to adhere to every aspect of the AI Act that comes out of there. And the Europeans generally err on the side of more regulation rather than less. So I'd say that if we take a lead out of that, we'll probably be well covered. Yeah. Other things? Super. Well, I think that's me done. If there's anything you want to come and ask me afterwards, that's totally fine. But it's been great to hang out with you on this Friday night.